Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the Jboy Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another segment of the Jboy Show. Really excited to bring you one of the top guys covering college football. Just made a big move to On3 Sports. Excited to welcome in Mr. Ivan Maisel. Ivan, it's great to have you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We're excited about On3. We go online in August, and I think if you like college football, it's going to be a good site.
Yeah, it is. And speaking about college football, you know, SEC Media Day is almost the stepping stone to getting to the season. We have it this year. We've had a spring practice. We've had a summer going into fall camp. How excited are you, Ivan, you know, for us to, what looks like at least, get back to a normal season? Because we all know as college football purists, this is what it's about, my friend.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm trying real hard not to count my chickens.
I know. I don't want to jinx it either.
But, you know, we're here. I mean, the crowd is smaller here.
Yeah.
There's no fans in the lobby. But I think everybody's just so grateful to be together. And you know, hopefully the Delta variant will leave us alone in the SEC. And you know, bringing all those fans into one place won't have repercussions. I mean, you know, the more people that get vaccinated, the better off everybody will be.
Yeah, and you know, looking at the SEC, there's so many storylines, and there always is. We can talk about Kirby and Georgia and the expectations. Nick Saban having to replace a lot, but we all know how that goes and how dominant they are. I'm interested to ask you, though, Ivan, about the new hires in the SEC into this first year. Brian Harsin looks to have inherited the best roster. Let's talk about him first. What do you think about Brian Harsin in year one, Mike Bobo and Derek Mason as the DC? How do you see Auburn faring?
Well, Brian's obviously a good coach, and, you know, my reaction was, I think, like a lot of people, is like, you know, why do you need to go all that way to get a head coach? But, you know, I mean, Nick Saban went from Michigan State to LSU, and Brian's a smart coach. He's got a tremendous resume. He's biting off a lot, you know, to be at Auburn in that state, but he seems to be handling it the right way, and now we just got to see what happens.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking who inherited a harder situation, Pat Dye when he went to Auburn or Brian Harsin when he went to Auburn. There's actually a lot that can marry there if you look at it, so it's an interesting storyline. Looking at Shane Beamer, I mean, they've been hotter than Hansel at the Male Model Awards right now in recruiting, and his personnel, very interesting, lost a lot. Luke Doty looking to be the quarterback. When you look at South Carolina, is it Kevin Harris and everybody else, maybe a little of Nick Muse?
Well, I just think, you know, I think it's going to be hard to judge Shane by what happens this season.
100%.
Yeah, you know, as you say, he's made a nice splash this summer. He's clearly got a resume of being a very effective recruiter and being a very good coach, you know, which is why South Carolina reached out to grab him. It's made me keep an eye on South Carolina, and I intend to this season just to see how effective he is as a head coach.
Yeah, and Ivan, I don't want to ask for the secret sauce or anything you're going to put out later. Tell me to kick rocks if you want me to. But is there a dark horse team in either the SEC East or the West that you're keeping your eye on this year? Ole Miss is a popular pick. You know, I look at Kentucky and Missouri and the strides that Mark Stoops has made, but I look at Drinkowitz with Basilak and Beatty and those guys, and Missouri can be sneaky if they can figure out the front seven on defense.
Yeah, no, I thought Missouri made great strides last year under, you know, some tough conditions. It does seem like Georgia is miles ahead of everybody in the East. But, you know, Kentucky's been dependable, you know, which is a word, it sounds like damning by faint praise, but, you know, that's something Kentucky hasn't always been. And I expect them to be very good this year. But it will have to be a dark horse to overtake Georgia.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, they're going for a little bit during basketball season. I was wondering if Kentucky was going to win more games in football than basketball for the first time since a comet hit the earth and wiped out the dinosaurs. At least that's what they tell us. But last question, we're here with Ivan Maisel from On3 Sports, a legend in his own right. And I'm not trying to age him, early legend, you know, like a rock star. But Ivan, are we heading for an Alabama-Georgia matchup in the SEC championship? I mean, if you look at it, it seems to be pointing that way. It's still early. A lot can happen. But, I mean, I still look at that Alabama roster, and, man, they got a lot of talent.
Well, they do. You know, they're young, and Nick Saban has made it clear that they need some leadership. They had such great leaders last year, and now all of a sudden those guys, the sophomores and juniors of last year, have got to pick that up, and that will make the difference. Going into College Station in early October, that's a huge game for the SEC West. A&M feels like they're better. I'm not ready to say that they're going to beat Alabama just because with replacing so much on offense, I think that's going to be an issue. But I don't know how you don't pick Alabama and Georgia at this point, but it's July.
That's true. And again, it's going to be hard for me to bet against Saban, but Ivan, I really appreciate your time, brother. Congrats. Tell everybody where they can find your content already and when you guys are launching, as you mentioned earlier.
Well, the official launch date's August 15th. I think probably by early August there will be content up, but the hard launch is August 15th, and then we're off and running.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's an honor to talk to you, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of the week. All right, hey everybody, very excited to welcome the one and only Jordan Rodgers, one of the, when it comes to breaking down, understanding the game schematically, we love to talk about it. Couldn't find a better guy. Excited to talk some ball with him. Jordan, what's up, man?
I'm glad that your show has a J in it, Jboy. I feel like that's kind of like, did you name it after me?
Now cat's out of the bag. No, actually, what's funny is nobody's ever called me Jboy. It's never been a nickname of mine.
JJ, we got another J in there for this segment.
We really could do that. We could just J and J it all the way, and I'm not talking about the vaccine. So, Jordan, I want to start. What's crazy to me when you look at this year, and there's always turnover, but you have a lot of top teams replacing quarterbacks. Yeah. You look at A&M, you look at Alabama, you look at Florida. LSU's got a quarterback battle. When you have a bunch of talent around you, when you look at, let's take Haynes King and Zach Calzada from A&M, for example. As a young guy at quarterback, are you just, you want to lead, but is there a certain way as a young guy you try and lead, maybe not as vocal, or do you just kind of go right in, just from, you've been through it?
Yeah, I had to transfer in from a junior college to Vandy when they had an established quarterback. So it's kind of like, what you got to do first? You got to perform.
That's exactly
You got to perform in practice. Guys got to see you actually doing things. They're like, oh, that kid can play, and then they'll listen to you, right? So I think the A&M situation is interesting because Zach Calzada is a better thrower. He's a better passer. But they lost 4 of their offensive linemen. They need a dude that's mobile right now. Haynes King can move around. When I came in, I took over the role from an established quarterback. He was much better of a passer than I was, but I was mobile. Our offensive line was not very good. Sometimes it's not so much who's more talented as a thrower, as a quarterback, who's a better leader. It's what do you need for this offense to move? Haynes King and athleticism for A&M is going to be the key for them, I think.
I agree, and that's the same thing I'm saying for Max Johnson at LSU. That offensive line's got a lot to prove as well, and the running game from a defensive.
So you think it's going to be Max Johnson?
I think it's going to be Max Johnson.
I think it's going to be Miles Brennan.
I love it. That's what makes it great. I look at Jade. I was just talking with T-Bob Hebert about this. I look at what Pete's going to do offensively, and I think it's going to be more Sarkisian-y than Joe Brady. I think people don't realize how good Joe Burrow was sometimes when they just talk about Joe Brady, even though Joe Brady is, a schematical Wizard of Oz. But I just look at his feet. I think they're going to be heavy in the RPO game, being able to move the pocket, sprint out, and all stuff like that. But, Miles was 2-0 as a starter, looked really good. It's just, I think it may be a better fit. But if you're LSU, it's kind of a good problem to have, Jordan.
Yeah, I think Max Johnson is an incredible quarterback. I think they couldn't go wrong either way. I think the X factor for me in that is I think what that team lacked most last year, because they had a ton of talent at a bunch of different positions. They lacked leadership.
Yeah.
And I think right now, like I said, performance. Yes, everybody saw Max Johnson come in and perform on a big stage against Florida. He did a lot of good things, but I still think the elder guy in Miles Brennan has that locker room a little bit more and can hold guys accountable a little bit more. I think more than anything, LSU needs their players, their playmakers to be held accountable. So early on, I think it's going to be Miles. I think both those dudes can play, and I think there's a lot of things that they need to figure out with the running game to help whoever the quarterback is going to be. So 1A, 1B, I think it maybe starts with Miles Brennan, maybe it ends with Max Johnson. Either way, I think both those guys are going to take LSU further than they were last year for sure.
And again, we've seen that movie start to play out a lot lately. And, I'm still from the old school. If you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. But we've seen it work. We've seen Tua.
In this day and age, what's going to be weird? NIL, because of NIL, coaches are going to be playing 2 quarterbacks, even if it's just packages, so much more prevalent.
That's a great point.
Right? How if you have a guy, how can you say, well, you're going to be 2, if we'll need you if something crazy happens? No. Especially the first 3 or 4 weeks, every quarterback, if you have a talented backup, you're going to have something for him.
Yeah.
Because you need to keep him around. But he can transfer wherever he wants in the SEC now and start playing right away.
That's true.
That changes things. The NIL making money, you want to be a starter now.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to have to juggle guys, 2 guys more than you probably want to, and more than you did in the past.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's a realistic thing. And shoot, it's a position where you don't normally see that. My last question, we're here with Jordan Rodgers. By the way, the breakdown you did last year on the formational Auburn stuff was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We've been screaming it for
stuff.
weeks. But Bo Nix, biggest question in Auburn. Sponsored by Milo's Tea.
Yeah.
Hoping to have a pretty sweet year, pun intended. What do you think about Bo Nix under the tutelage of Mike Bobo? Because to me, Jordan, he has the tools. I think two things can be true at once. Bo Nix needs to be better in the pocket. He needs to stop throwing off platform. He needs to stop throwing across his body and throw the check down, actually. And Auburn's offensive line could really be struggling. I think people try and pin it in one of the two when two can be true at the same time.
I think even more than that, Gus Malzahn's offense handcuffed the development of Bo Nix. They strictly do split field reads, one or two options. There's no full field progressions. There is no complementary concept. So when you see Bo Nix look to the right and not move and then start drifting right, why does he do that? Because he was never told, work backside. You know why? Because there's no options backside, right? So the offense has to give Bo Nix the ability to play from the pocket first and foremost. And then, obviously, quarterback's got to make better decisions, right? He's got to be more fundamentally sound. He's got to understand when to get rid of the football. Brian Harsin and Bobo have to develop an offense that gives him enough knowledge that he has answers. He didn't have answers. Gus Malzahn came into this league with tempo, right? No one knew what to do with tempo, right? So every defense had about two or three things they did. So Malzahn could say, I know what the defense is going to do. This route, this play is going to beat them. The last 4 or 5 years, he couldn't do that. Everyone knew what tempo was, right? So he kept trying to call the right play and not give his quarterback multiple options. That hurt the development of Bo Nix. TJ Finley's a heck of a quarterback. Bo is going to have to show early on that he can play from the pocket and be consistent, or they're going to have two guys that are going to continue to duke it out well into the season. Yeah, now there's a legitimate backup. Iron sharpens iron, but now if you don't play well, somebody can replace you. But 100%. Jordan, great stuff, man. Would love to get you on the show for a full episode sometime. Man. I know you're a busy man, but tell everybody where they can find you if they're not already following you on social media. Social media, JRodgers11. Somehow still have my college number attached to it. Can't get rid of it, but
I love it.
That's where you find it.
I love it. Sticks, baby. Anyways, we appreciate it. Make sure you check us out at the Jboy Show. Go to thejboyshow.com. Got some more great content coming for you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another segment of the Jboy Show. Really excited to bring you one of the SEC Network's best, a guy we've had on the show. I really enjoy having him. That's Mr. Tom Hart. Tom, what's up, my friend?
What's up? It's great to be here.
No doubt. They can have Tom Hardy. Give me Tom Hart. That's what I'm saying. So we're here at SEC Media Days. Just what you've seen, Kirby Smart just got done talking. In the first 2 days, what storylines have kind of stood out to you? Are there a few in your mind of what we've seen so far?
I think, and I hate to go non-football, but to me the storyline early on is how are teams dealing with vaccinations, the league's backing of vaccinations, and Greg Sankey pushing it. A lot of conference commissioners are going to have the same message. Very few have the power and influence that Greg Sankey has. And that tells me a couple things. Not only can he be a difference maker in that regard, but also that it's a problem. Greg Sankey doesn't talk about things unless they're really issues. His words are powerful and they're valuable. So it's got me a little bit hesitant looking forward to the college football season. Like, if it's important enough for him to talk about, that means it's an issue. Are we going to have interruptions, or do we get to enjoy football? So on the football side, with Kirby here today, and I haven't heard his comments yet, but there's a lot of pressure on him to win. I mean, he has built an elite program. If he doesn't win a national championship this year, and they've got a great window to do so, they've got a conducive schedule to do so, he's going to start getting the Mark Richt treatment really quick, which was, he's a great coach, but, yes, we beat Florida, but. And if there's a comma and a but after every positive, we won the Rose Bowl, but, then that's going to be a real issue for Kirby going forward.
Yeah, and the two people I think have the most pressure, in my opinion, going into the season, head coach and coordinator, it's got to be Kirby Smart. It's got to be Todd Grantham from Florida in that defense. I want to ask you about Auburn in the West. There's so many interesting storylines. I don't think enough people are talking about the East. Obviously, when you look at it, Georgia's head and shoulders roster-wise above everybody else. Do you think Florida slips a little bit this year, or do you think Dan Mullen, it's going to be really hard to replicate that offensive production last year, Tom?
Hold on a second. Did you just do a mid-question shout-out?
Chris Doring walked by your boy.
Walked by, hey, what up?
Yeah, he chunked me the deuce.
That was big.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That is talent right there. Now,
I'm a dual threat, man. We try and run and pass here.
I didn't see him. Was he wearing a shirt?
He was,
okay.
But if I was him, I would never wear a shirt.
No, he's the shirtless wonder.
Yeah, jacked and tan all day.
He's single-handedly keeping Lululemon in business. I don't know if you're aware of this.
NIL, baby, let's get it.
He's got a deal. He definitely has a deal. I've totally forgot the question. Yeah, Florida takes a step back.
Yeah.
I do I do have confidence in Dan Mullen when it comes to quarterbacks, not just developing them, but putting them in a position to succeed and building their confidence on game day.
Yeah.
So I'm curious and anxious and excited to see what he can do with Emory Jones. When Emory first showed up, there's a lot of promise attached to him, and there was a lot of excitability in what he could do. Now that he's getting all these reps, I think they have a potential to realize that promise. But the East, outside of Georgia, I think is going to be what will be a telling game will be week 2, the first SEC game of the year, SEC primetime on the SEC Network, shameless plug, will be Missouri at Kentucky. Because I think both of those programs are poised to have great years for a couple different reasons. The bottom 3 teams in the East are going to be beatable every week, and I don't want to say without effort, but without a whole lot of effort. Like they're going to be, hey, take our foot off the pedal, take care of business, get kind of games. And so that puts Florida in a position of, well, we're trying to battle Georgia for the East, but you got to also battle Missouri and Kentucky. And if you lose the Georgia game and you lose the opportunity to go to Atlanta, how does your team respond to diminished returns on high expectations, whereas Kentucky and Missouri have long been programs and will continue to be this year where there is true value in making it to a New Year's Day bowl. Yeah, everybody wants to make the playoff. Fine. But Missouri and Kentucky make it to the Outback, the Gator, whatever it might be. That is a great season and a lot to play for. And that helps those coaches, I think, with motivation through very long seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you encapsulated that perfectly. Then last question here. I think it's the best one. I saved it, for last. The SEC West, when you look at it from top to bottom, and it's something we've talked about a lot. Alabama, we know is going to be really talented. We know how, good they are, even though replacing everything except the tires on the bus. I say it all the time. But looking at the West, is this the deepest the West has been in a while? I mean, you talk about there's 3 teams at the bottom of the East that are going to be pretty beatable every week, like you said. Man, I mean, could you say that about the West? I mean, Arkansas is going to be tough. Ole Miss, you can't sleep on Mike Leach and the Air Raid boys over there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, you'd have to look historically at how are we judging depth? Is it returning champions, returning bowl wins? I think you have a year where, say, Auburn wins a national championship, even though they take a step back without Cam the next year. They have that pedigree, and then Alabama has the talent. So the top end, when LSU's up there, yeah, it's going to be really deep. And the way I look at it, and I'm going to just remove Auburn from the mix right now. I think Brian Hartson can build a program there, and they'll be in fine shape. I don't know what to expect of them this year. I don't know what to expect of quarterback play. I don't know if Bo Nix can take that step that is so necessary for him to take. So just take them out of the equation for a minute. I really feel like anybody else in that division can beat anybody. Now, is it likely that Mississippi State beats Alabama? No, it's not likely, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And certainly Ole Miss can put up the points and beat Alabama. And the same thing, as good as Ole Miss can be, Matt Corral could throw 6 picks in a single game, and they could get beat by anybody. Like, they get beat by Liberty at their place. So I'm fascinated to see how that all plays out. The pivotal games in my mind, obviously Alabama, A&M at the top, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's going to be the one that decides the division, in my opinion. But more importantly and more pivotal to one team's individual success and long-range goals is LSU opening the season at UCLA.
Yeah.
A few years ago, A&M went out there, blew a second-half lead, blew a fourth-quarter lead, got a quarterback hurt, had to shuffle through a bunch of other dudes. Kevin Sumlin never figured it out, lost his job. If LSU starts off on the wrong foot, they're going to have a long way to go to try to recapture that momentum and the support. And I think that's a game they could win that game by 2.5 touchdowns. Yeah. But if they lose that game, that will be, in my opinion, the most pivotal game of anybody's all season.
No, that's a great point, Tom. Great stuff, man. We got to get you back on the show again soon before season starts. I know it's going to get crazy, but again, man, I really appreciate you taking some time.
Happy to do it. Now you got an enormous responsibility.
Yes.
I'm going to put it on your shoulders because I know you're the man to get it done.
Go ahead.
You are 6 feet away from the only bar in this hotel.
I know.
And it's a bar that is acting like a restaurant.
I know.
You need to go in there and convince them that they are a bar, and bars stay open late. So people stumble back in from dinner can go in there and spend money, because we're willing to spend money at the hotel bar, but not if you close down at 10. Okay, so you were the one. You need to get in there.
I'm the Neo of this situation. Is what
Yes, you've got to win this fight for us.
Okay.
All of society is leaning on you and depending on you for this.
Well, number one, I accept that responsibility on levels I can't even explain to you. I will get it done. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to not only change it to a bar, I'm going to raise the bar. That's what I'm going to do in there, Tom. I'm going to raise the bar. We appreciate you helping us raise the bar. Tom Hart, great stuff, my brother.
Anytime.
Let's talk soon. Make sure you subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go to thejboyshow.com. We just heard back from Twitter. Good news coming. Win the water cooler or get doused. We'll holler at you later.
The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, Technical Director Dave Hammock, Creative Director David Culbertson, Audio Engineer Feyzan Shareef, Production Assistants Blaine Crain and Kyle Orr, Executive Producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with The Jboy Show.